Good evening. Welcome to India.
How are you?
So I am absolutely fine. And today is a special day in India.
It's Diwali, right?
Yes.
Happy
Yes.
Diwali.
Thank you so much. So,
I am Jess Knopfsinger and I teach middle school engineering in Denver, Colorado. Do lots of different jobs. I write curriculum and I teach teachers and I am a volleyball coach and
wow.
sponsor clubs and all kinds of activities for my children.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. How are you?
I am fine, ma'am. My name is Maheshwar. I am an eighth grader from GPHS Penmaka. I would like to ask a question.
Please
My
do.
question is, my question is, what inspired you to pursue engineering education, and how do you make complex concepts engaging for students?
Great questions. So I became an engineering educator. Um, I went to college to be an engineer. And when I got through college, I realized that I really liked working with people instead of with machines. And so that's how I ended up being an engineering teacher instead of an engineer. And to make complicated systems understandable to my students, we always start by asking questions. What are all of the questions we need to answer and understand? And then we start going to find the answers. And we take the system and we break it up from this big complicated thing into small parts that we can study one at a time to make the whole system make sense.
My name is Pooja. I'm an eighth grader from GPHS Penmaka. May I ask you a question?
Yes,
My,
ma'am.
my question is, how has technology or innovation changed the way engineering is taught in Colorado over the year?
So after COVID and the pandemic, we spent a year and a half at home um, doing school. And so during that time, my students got very familiar with doing all of their work on the computer. And so they spent a lot of time doing written work on the computer. But during that time, what they also learned was the importance of collaborating and working with other people because they didn't have that chance. And so in my classroom, there are a lot of times where we don't use technology. We really focus on collaborating and sharing ideas to solve problems.
Evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
My name is Monica. I am an 9th grader from GPHS Permak. I would like to ask you a question.
Yes, ma'am.
My question is, in what ways do you encourage creativity and problem solving among your engineering students?
In so many ways, there's where places everywhere to be inspired and to find creative ideas. And so, one of the big things that we spend time doing is taking and looking at things that already exist and answering the question, how do we make this better? Or what would be new or innovative to replace it? Whenever we're solving problems, my students have to come up with 3 to 5 ideas and then really look at those 3 to 5 ideas and think about which one is going to make the biggest difference in the life of the people that are using their solution.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good
This is
evening.
Akbar. This is Akbar. I'm a ninth grader from Visit PHS Penamaka. With your permission, may I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
My question is, how does your curriculum incorporate real-world engineering challenges relevant to Colorado's industries?
Great question. So, the school that I teach at is a STEM school. We focus on science, technology, engineering, and math. And in every class, our students must do what is called problem-based learning. And so, every content that we are learning, the students have to solve a real-world problem. And so, I spend a lot of time going out and working in partnership with different industries here in Colorado to figure out what kind of problems they are solving. So, for example, my students have been on fall break the last week. So, tomorrow we will go back to school. And our next problem that we're solving in my 7th grade class is for a local company that makes medical devices. And one of the problems that the medical device company has is that they don't have enough blood to test their machines, and they don't want to be wasteful of blood that is being donated by people. And so my students are going to work with engineers from that company to figure out what items from the grocery store we can use to make synthetic blood for them to use to do testing of the machine before they get to clinical trials where they use real blood.
You see that in Indian context, my students don't study engineering at school level. In fact, they
Yes.
have their different subjects to study. But
Yes.
whereas you are an engineering teacher in a school,
Uh-huh.
so how different the curriculum subjects from engineering? Do you think that the incorporation of engineering subject in their academic subjects helps them to grow well in as an engineering graduate when they pursue the engineering in future? And in what way this engineering subject at school level helps them to grow professionally in future?
Great question. So, engineering education is still rare in the United States. It does not happen everywhere. My school opened with the idea that when we wait until high school, we wait till grade 9 and older, it's too late for students to become interested. And so we started a school 15 years ago where we start with kindergartners. And so our first group of kindergartners are in college. And then our first group of middle school students that I taught are working engineers. And whether they go into professional engineering or not, what my students will tell you is that what it helped them to do was to learn to think about problems in smaller pieces. The world has a lot of really big problems right now that we need to solve, whether we're talking about climate change, or we're talking about air pollution, or we're talking about poverty. And so, what my students most appreciate is that early on they were taught that they can make a difference, just as you all can make a difference in your own communities. And that the way we do that is to look at systems and to look at data and think about what our goal is and then try to fix that goal. And so I think that's the most powerful part of having it as an added curriculum here. So not every school in the United States does this. Not every school in Colorado where I live does this. But the schools that do have a lot of success in students' academic skills in all areas because it makes them better problem solvers.
Okay, thank you so much, Jessica. And here is another question. When I was in USA way back 2022, I observed the students are opting the electives. I mean,
Yes.
besides the academic subjects, they opt the electives. What I heard from one of the teachers from school, that some students, majority of the students, they come to school just for the sake of electives because they want to do something. They put a lot of effort into the electives, like I mean, agricultural work, maybe some other technical fields. So even what surprised me that cookery classes, the students actually they gather in one classroom, they cook something, and they in India the problem in India is in Indian society, men are not supposed to cook the food. Women
Right.
are supposed to cook the food. But when they go to somewhere outside their homes, outside their villages, outside the towns, they struggle a lot to cook their own food because lack of exposure in cooking area. But in USA, both boys and girls actually are involved in the cookery classes. So could you
Yes.
please tell us about the advantages of electives in USA context?
Yes. So electives are probably my 8th graders' favorite classes for the most part, and my high school students, most of them as well. And in the United States, our education system is really focused on the whole child. So getting you ready for all of life, not just academics. And so in middle school, in grades 6 through 8, most electives are required for every student. They try them all. So in my school, if you guys were there as eighth graders, you would take computer science, engineering, art, physical education, and a music course. And you can pick which music course you want to take, whether it is playing an instrument or singing. Then in high school, you can narrow in and focus on more specific things towards careers. And right now, it's a very exciting time here because we have just opened a new career and technical education school. So the students take their traditional math and science and language arts and social studies at their regular school, but then they go to this elective school and they can pick a career that they want to learn and have that exposure. So my son is 16 and he is learning to be a welder at school. And when he graduates from high school, he will have his high school diploma and he will have a certification to be a welder. My older son, who is 21, he took the engineering pathway. He was able to learn engineering skills in high school, and now he is working as an engineer building satellites after going to college. And so it creates lots of opportunities for students to try things out and see what they want to learn. And it's also funny, cooking is actually one that is very popular. It has a very long wait list for both boys and girls. Even if people aren't going to do that as their job, it prepares them to move out and be on their own.
Here in India, actually, the trend, boys and girls after schooling, they want to become either engineers or the doctors and some
Yep.
other professionals, business people. But not many people, they focus on the building and the carpentry and some other professional jobs are there. They feel that it's inferior to work in those jobs. As per the aspirations of the parents, they would like to become engineers or doctors or some other professionals. They feel that doing these jobs are not just respectable as their society respect. But in USA and some other developing countries, most of the students, they would like to take their career as per their interests, not as per the ambitions and aspirations of their parents. And so in this way, I think your children, maybe the students and the children of the USA, they would like to pursue their dreams. So what would you like to say about the parents? They're forcing their children to pursue their careers as per their dreams or something like that, rather than giving them chance of freedom to choose their own career. What would you like to say?
Oh, that is a complicated question. So one thing that we have found as we have created this career and technical pathway is that the best thing we can do for parents is show them the jobs. So welding, for a long time was thought of as a poor job. It was manual labor. You did not have to be intelligent. Anyone could do that. But what we're finding is a lot of those jobs cannot be replaced by artificial intelligence. A human has to do it. A computer is never going to weld a pipe. A AI run computer is not going to ever be an electrician. And we set up pathways for kids to get those jobs right out of high school. So today on Facebook, I saw a student at our Career and Technical Education Center that got her diesel mechanic, which is very unusual for a female to be a mechanic, even in the United States. It's very rare. And she just got a job for $100,000 a year to fix diesel mechanics. And so that's what we talk to the parents about, is that children do better when they find something that they can make a living at and enjoy. And so the other part of it is giving kids a lot of opportunities to try lots of different things so they don't end up in a job that they dislike.
And before we wind up the session, may I request you to give a message to my students?
First of all, I just want to say happy Diwali. I hope your festival goes well. And I hope that as you study this year in school, you remember that you are capable of amazing things. And I hope you find something that you want to study and you want to do that will bring you joy.